What is up, everybody? Foreman Glory Day here, back with another video for Predecessor patch 1.12. If you've caught my other video, you know this patch is huge. In this video, we're going to be talking about all the changes coming to the jungle heroes in this game. As always, it helps me out tremendously if you guys would consider subscribing and liking this video. Leave a comment below about what role you'd like to see next. So it's my goal here on the channel to give you the best information possible as quickly as possible. I'm not here to waste your time, so let's jump right in to our jungle changes. The first hero we're talking about is Akeron, the Demon King himself. We have one change to an augment. They have removed the augment Insatiable Hunger. This was the one that it said instead of decaying over time, hunger regenerates over time and is not gained by hitting abilities. And then also made your awakened state last twice as long. This has been removed from the game and has been replaced by Trapdoor Demon. This says Akeron becomes camouflaged when attaching to terrain, gaining 0.5% max health regeneration and generating 5 hunger per second while he remains there. So literally Spider-Man. And that is the only changes to his augment. So we are going to jump into his ability changes. Now, most notably, we need to say right out the gate that he is no longer a mana-based hero. He now works off of a system called Hunger. So instead of mana, he has Hunger. Some base stat changes that are marginal. He's had his health, base HP, and his health growth decreased. His health regen growth decreased. His attack speed slightly decreased, but he's having an increase in his physical armor and physical armor growth. Now, moving on to a big one. His passive. This is Pact of the Devourer. Okay, so I'm going to read it straight from the tooltip, and then we'll talk about it. Akeron gains up to 100 stacks of hunger, each granting 0.25% increased healing and lasting 3 seconds, and refreshing on application. Akeron gains hunger each time he hits an enemy unit with a basic attack or ability. He gains additional hunger when damaged by an enemy hero. When Akeron reaches max stacks, he becomes awakened for 10 seconds, granting him 5% plus 0.75% per level damage reduction and granting his basic abilities extra effects. Okay, so I have kind of some breakdown information for us in the patch notes that we're going to talk about here. When taking damage from an enemy hero, he's going to gain 1 hunger per 0.5 seconds for 1.5 seconds. This effect refreshes but does not stack. His basic attacks grant him 5 hunger versus heroes, 1 versus non-heroes. Your Crushing Maw ability is going to give you 2 hunger versus non-heroes and 15 versus heroes. Your Hellfire is going to generate 0.1 hunger per hit versus non-heroes and 0.5 hunger per hit versus heroes. Both damage instances from his ultimate are going to generate 0.2 hunger per hit versus non-heroes and 2.5 hunger per hit versus heroes. Your Web Shot and your Leap damage generate 1 hunger per hit versus non-heroes and 5 to heroes. And your Consume executions grant 100 hunger. All of this hunger is going to decay at a rate of 3 per second after not attacking or damaging for 3 seconds. So essentially, the main takeaway from this is you gain hunger more quickly when you are attacking and using your basic attacks and your abilities against heroes than you do non-heroes, but you do still accumulate hunger stacks when you are farming your camps and moving through your jungle. It's just going to give you more when you're attacking enemy heroes. And then in addition to that, you're also generating hunger when being attacked by an enemy hero. So moving on from his passive to his first ability, we're going to talk about his Hellfire primary ability. Now, this no longer has a cost to cast. Remember, he's the manaless hero now. He's operating on hunger. The only change to this is that the physical power scaling of the ability has been removed. Next ability that they touched on is Web Lash, his secondary ability. This has seen, in keeping with the primary again, and this is going to be for all of his kit, there's no cost to cast this ability. It's just the cooldown. Speaking of the cooldown, it has seen an increase early, but a decrease late. Okay, so it used to be 18 scaling to 16 seconds. Now it is 24 seconds rank 1, but scaling down to 14 seconds at max rank. So you have more frequent uses whenever you've maxed the ability out. In addition to that, you can also use this ability now to dash to floors when you fire it at the ground as if it were a wall. So you can kind of latch yourself to the floor anywhere around you and leap the same way you would to a wall. The magical power scaling has been decreased by 20%. The web shot bonus physical power scaling has been completely removed, and the leap bonus physical power scaling has also been removed. In addition to that, you no longer increase your leap range when you are awakened, okay? But when awakened, you now increase the root and the stun duration from this ability. So a little bit of a trade-off there. Lose a little bit of damage, but gain some CC. So we'll take that. His alternate ability, Crushing Maw, we're seeing damage go down across all ranks, but when you are awakened, this ability now shreds physical and magical armor for 5 seconds. So it no longer has any bonus physical power scaling and no longer has any physical armor shred by default, but when you are awakened, it's going to shred physical and magical armor for 5 seconds. Another good change to Crushing Maw, when you kill units with Crushing Maw, it grants 200% healing effectiveness. So your max health healing from this ability is going down, but the healing effectiveness on units is going up by 200%. So some trade-off there as far as what you're gaining from this ability. Lastly, his ultimate Consume has seen the physical power scaling removed. It's like all the rest of his abilities. The pull strength is no longer increased while you are awakened, okay? But pull strength increases by up to 100% the closer you are to your target, or really the closer the target is to Akeron, because you're pulling people into you. So your pull strength is just increasing by default the closer they get to you. The damage is going down from 20 scaling to 40 to 15 scaling to 25, but the pull magical power scaling is being decreased by half. You're going from 10% to 5%. His bite healing is decreasing from 50 to 60 to 70 to 40, 50, 60. The execute threshold, though, is increasing from 10 to 12%. And the execute threshold magical power scaling is increasing from 2 to 2.5%. These executes no longer grant physical power or magical power to Akeron, and instead they give you, depending on rank, 100, 150, or 200 permanent max HP. So you're not gaining resistances, but you are gaining health. The heal multiplier has gone down from 3 to 2.5x. Lastly, the cooldown is going down pretty significantly from 130, 120, 110 down to 120 at rank 1 to 100 to 80 seconds at rank 3. So way more uses of this ability as well. Honestly, I think all in all, pretty good changes coming to Akeron. The next hero we're going to talk about is the Ice Queen herself, Aurora. They removed the Deep Freeze augment. This was the one where the cryoseism initial area of effect was 20% larger. And what they did is they actually just incorporated that into that ability by default. So it's just going to get that augment in the base kit. They also removed the Ice Age augment. This was one where Glacial Charge traveled 25% further. And in the same vein, they have now added that into the base kit of Glacial Charge. So if you're keeping up, you now get 20% larger cryoseism and you're traveling 25% further with your Glacial Charge just built into the base kit. New augments replacing the two that they've gotten rid of. The first we're going to talk about is Hypothermia. This is going to affect her alternate ability, Boreal Sweep. It's adding a shred and an attack speed reduction. So damaging enemy heroes with this ability shreds 20% physical and magical armor and slows their attack speed, total attack speed, by 20% for 3 seconds. The next one is Glacial Charge, and this one was like it wowed everybody in the dev stream, but it's really based around crowd control. So now when you Glacial Charge, you spawn these hoarfrost crystals at the base of the wall, along the length of the wall. So anybody who walks too close to them is going to get their movement speed reduced, and you're going to see them that way. So those are the changes to her augments. Like all the rest of the heroes on this patch, she's seen her base HP go down just slightly, her base HP growth go down, mana increased, her mana growth decreased, her physical armor is going up, and her attack speed is going to go down just slightly. Again, I'm mentioning these changes just in case there's people who are really focused on them, but they are very minor adjustments just to kind of tweak systems and keep people competitive. Her passive Frozen Simulacrum, Frost Storm stacks are now visualized by 4 little pips on Aurora's health bar to be able to know just how many you have. Also, when you do your backflip, you gain control of her at the apex of her double jump. So instead of being fixed in whatever direction it was that you're moving until you land, you now can redirect after you have double jumped once you reach the apex of the jump. Basic attack has seen a magical power scaling increase by 5%, going from 25 to 30%. So just a little bit of a damage boost there on her basic attack. Her primary ability, Glacial Charge, You can now stop the dash early if you jump. And as I mentioned earlier, they've incorporated the previous augment into this ability. So you're now, the dash and the wall are 20% longer than they were. The mana for this ability is increasing from a flat 60 at all ranks to 80 to 100. So the ability is better, but it does cost you more to use. For secondary ability, Hoarfrost, this has had its vertical hitbox increased. So if you guys can see a little bit from the tooltip here, it's gotten a little bit taller, so it's made it more difficult for heroes to jump over it. They've kind of made some new features in the game for quite a few heroes that have abilities to go vertically. So this is going to be more likely to catch them when they're trying to travel over top of this ability. The damage is decreasing from 80 scaling to 260 to 70 scaling to 230, so down across all ranks, but your scaling is increasing from 50 to 60%. The root duration is increasing from a flat 1 second to 1 second, scaling to 1.2 seconds at max rank. And the cooldown is decreasing from 15 scaling to 13 to 12 scaling to 10. Cost of this ability going up by 10. So not a very big change to the cost. So you're getting more damage, you're getting more CC, you're getting a more likely to hit that CC by the vertical hitbox increase, and you're getting a shorter cooldown. So this ability has seen some big positive changes for you Aurora fans out there. Her alternate ability, Boreal Sweep, casting this ability no longer blocks jumping, and it is now a longer but less wide cone. So it travels further in front of you, but a little bit less out. The explosion delay is decreased from 0.95 seconds to 0.8 seconds, and the explosion damage is increasing from 80 scaling to 200 to 80 scaling to 220. Your slow is increasing from 30% to 30 scaling to 50%. So you have some CC changes in the right direction on this ability as well. But the slow duration is going down. So a stronger slow, but lasts a little bit less, from 1 second down to 0.9. The cooldown on the ability is decreasing later into the game. So it was 11.5 down to 7.5. Now it's 11.5 to 6.5. And the cost is increasing from a flat 60 to 60 scaling to 80. So lots of changes to this ability as well. Lastly, her ultimate ability, Cryoseism, now commits its cost and its cooldown on activation of the ability, allowing the ability to be fully interrupted and not recastable when an interrupt occurs. So you have to be aware of the fact that you could lose this ability should you get interrupted, because the commitment happens when you press the key or the button. The damage from this ability can no longer be cleansed. Only the slow and the stun will be cleansed. So they might get rid of the CC, but they're still taking the damage. And then the damage area has been changed from a sphere to a cylinder with 200 extra height. So it's a little bit harder, again, to jump over this ability or get out of the way of this ability. They're making adjustments to that because there's many heroes, as I mentioned, that are gaining vertical changes to their abilities. And that is all the changes to Aurora. Let me know what you guys think about the changes that are coming to her. I think all in all, they're pretty solid. She's gaining some CC, which I didn't believe was something that she needed or even possible that they would do, but she did. And she's gained some damage in a couple of places. So I think it's all around a bonus for her. So let me know what you guys think. And we are going to move on to the Edgelord, Bayle. We're going to take a look at his abilities. He's had no changes to his augments, but he's had quite a few changes to his abilities. So taking a look at his base stats real quick, his health, base HP, and his HP growth are going down just slightly. His base mana is going down a little bit as well, but his mana growth is increasing just slightly. His physical armor is increasing. His basic attack time is increasing from 1.2 to 1.6. His physical power and his physical power growth are decreasing. And his attack speed is increasing, likely to make up for the fact that they're increasing his basic attack time. Now, moving on to his abilities. His passive, Berserk, you are seeing an attack speed increase on this ability of a pretty significant way, from 15% plus 2 per level to 25% plus 3 per level. So it's a pretty big increase there on his attack speed. Your basic attack itself can now be blink proxied. So whenever you get to that third basic attack, you can actually blink and blink proxy that attack. So honestly, I just think I love when they add features like that because it adds some complexity to the hero. So people who are putting a lot of time in on these heroes can really showcase their mastery with changes like this. So I'm a fan of things like that. The swing damage and timer have been adjusted from 112x to 112.5x in the first, second, and third basic attacks in the chain, respectively. His primary ability, Cursed Edge, you have bonus physical power scaling increasing from 65 to 70%. You have an animation and ability speed no longer scaling with your bonus attack speed. And the animation ability speed is now 18% faster than the default. So it isn't scaling as you build attack speed, but out the gate, it's 18% faster than it was. The cost of this ability is increasing early, but decreasing later. So it's going from 60 scaling to 80 to 70 scaling to 50. The cooldown has changed from 15 scaling to 13 to 18 scaling to 12. So same as the previous. Higher early, lower later. Your secondary ability, Dire Howl, has seen damage decreased from 60 scaling to 150 to 50 scaling to 110. Bonus physical power scaling is also decreasing from 45 to 30%. The mana cost is decreasing from 80 to 50. And the cooldown is changing from 14 scaling to 12 to 14 at all ranks. So across the board, Dire Howl is getting a little bit of a nerf, but compared to the buff to your basic attacks, from the passive and the straight up changes and the buff to Cursed Edge, I think we're still doing okay. His alternate ability, Skull Crusher, has seen its bonus physical power scaling increase from 100 to 105%, and the cost decrease from 50 scaling to 70 to a flat 40 at all ranks. The cooldown also going in the right direction, from 18 scaling to 14 to 16 scaling to 10. So we've got buffs coming to Skull Crusher as well. Your ultimate, everybody's favorite, Kingslayer, they made this same change to quite a few of the heroes, but you're committing the cost and the cooldown on activation. So if this ability is interrupted, that's it. Your cooldown is running and you've lost the resources. So you're going to have to wait the full timer until you can use it again. It has also removed the knockback to other targets when you land. So you're no longer going to knock back targets when you land. So a little bit of a nerf to his ult, but nothing significant. So all in all, I think that Bayle has seen some positive changes. The changes to his basic attacks are going to have his overall damage output increasing. So because you can make changes to abilities that are going to obviously affect when you use the ability, but changes to a basic attack and the basic attack system and the base attack speed to those basic attacks is going to make your overall damage output increase. So I think all in all, Bayle has seen some positive changes. Let me know what you guys think about these changes in the comments. And we're going to move on to Winnie the Pooh, aka Boris. Same with Boris as with Bayle. There are no changes to his augment, so we're going to briefly run through the stat changes. His base HP and his HP growth are decreasing. His base mana is decreasing. His attack speed is decreasing. His physical armor and physical power are increasing, though. So that's cool. Taking a look at his passive Tesseract device. A really cool change, a quality of life change that I love is his canister count is now visualized by 4 pips on his health bar. So you no longer have to stare at his back and count your attacks. You can see on the health bar how many canisters you have gained. Your attack speed per canister is increasing from 7 scaling to 16 to 11 scaling to 20. Your on-hit healing from this passive is now affected by the minion monster modifier. Okay. On-hit healing is changing from 0.3 to 5.4 plus 0.3 per level to 1 to 5.25 plus 0.25 per level. So slightly less healing per level. You used to be 10.8 on-hit healing at max rank. Now you're 9.75. So just a little bit less. Your on-hit healing scaling is decreasing by 1%, down from 3.5 to 2.5. When you get to your maximum stacks and you have activated your Tesseract core, your on-hit damage is increasing from flat 4 to a 5 scaling to 56 plus 3 per level. And the on-hit scaling when you've activated the core is going from 16% of your total physical power to 10% of your bonus physical power. The core healing is increasing from 2.5 to 12.7 plus 0.6 per level to 4 to 25.5 plus 1.5 per level. And the core healing monster minion modifier is increasing from 15 to 40%. So much more healing on hit when you have gotten to max passive stacks. Moving on to his primary ability, Detection Protocol. The only change to this ability is that the mark duration is increasing by 1 second. You've gone from 7 seconds to 8 seconds. His secondary ability, Primeval Roar, damage decreased from 80 scaling to 160 to 60 scaling to 120. The total physical power on the ability is decreasing from 50 scaling to 30%, or sorry, from 50%. The total physical power scaling is decreasing from 50 to 30%, but the cost of the ability is reducing from 60 to 45. So overall, flat damage reduction to his Primeval Roar. Your alternate ability, Chrono Swipe, now benefits from lifesteal instead of magical lifesteal. Your damage is increasing from 20 scaling to 60 to 25 scaling to 65, and the cost is increasing from used to be 50 scaling to 70, now is 65 scaling to 85. But the cooldown is decreasing from it used to be 11 to 7 seconds, now it is 9 to 6 seconds. So a little bit more damage, costs you a little bit more, but you can use it more often. So it's seen some buffs. His ultimate, Ursine Burst, has had its damage decreased from 280, 390, and 500 to 250, 350, and 450. So down by 50 each rank. The bonus physical power of this ability is also decreasing from 180 to 160%. And a cool quality of life adjustment is that your camera is now unlocked during the grab. So you're able to look around and kind of just keep tabs on who's around you and where you're landing. But let me know what you guys think about the changes to Boris, and we are going to move on to our favorite boxer, Crunch. Crunch has had one change to his augments, which is Lunge Crunch, and this is going to add 10% further travel distance to your forward crunch dash. Other than that, no other changes to his augments. We'll talk about his general stat changes, which are his base HP and his HP growth are decreasing. His mana base is increasing. His attack speed base is decreasing, but growth is increasing. So just a little bit of some changes there. His passive has seen some pretty cool changes. Crunch now has access to Turbo Crunch's empowered ability available at all levels. And there is now a pip on your health bar and a stack counter to display the current empowered state and the number of turbo stacks. So you don't have to memorize it and count in your head. You can see a visual indicator on screen about where you are at in that chain. The total physical power scaling is going down from 25 to 20%. His basic attack, though, has seen a bonus physical power scaling increase from 70 to 80%. So that's a win for him. His primary ability, Left Crunch, has had its empowered damage decreased from 30 scaling to 170 to 30 scaling to 120. So just decreasing that damage later. Its cooldown, though, is decreasing from 10 scaling to 6 to 9 scaling to 5. So down 1 at all ranks. The animation speed has increased by 10% as well. So you're going to get through this ability more quickly to deliver that damage. His secondary ability, Right Crunch, has had its slow duration decrease from 1.5 seconds to 1 second, and its stun duration decreased from 1.25 to 0.75 seconds. The cost of the ability is increasing from a flat 50 mana to 50 mana, scaling to 70 mana, depending on rank. And the cooldown is increasing from 11.5 scaling down to 7.5 to 12 scaling down to 8. So it's going to gain a half second cooldown on each rank. Your alternate ability, Forward Crunch, has had its damage increased late game. So it was 60 to 140. Now it is 60 scaling to 180. Your bonus physical power scaling is increasing from 60 to 75%. Your empowered Forward Crunch dash is decreasing by 10% to account for the augment that allows you to gain that 10%. So it is unfortunate that really you're not gaining 10 additional percent from what it used to be. You're actually just getting back what it used to be, because as a base, they are reducing it by 10%. The cost is increasing from 60 to 70, but the cooldown is decreasing from 17 scaling to 14 to 16 scaling to 12. They've also added a quality of life adjustment to this ability where there is no hit recovery animation so that the ability is smoother. His ultimate has seen a rework, so it no longer recasts the last ability that you cast. Instead, it has a short cast animation and now instantly grants Turbo Crunch and allows one free cast of any of your empowered basic abilities within 10 seconds, even if it is currently on cooldown. So that honestly is a win. In addition to that, the cooldown is increasing from 55 scaling to 25 to 75 scaling to 35. So a little bit longer cooldown on that, but you get more freedom of use. So that's always a win. And those are all the changes coming to Crunch. Let me know what you think about those, and we're going to move on to Feng Mao, the absolute slammer ult, reset, assassination, execution, scary boy. He's had no changes to his augments. We're going to talk really quickly about his base stats. He has only just a few changes. His base mana is decreasing. His physical power growth is decreasing. His attack speed is decreasing. Going on to his abilities. His basic attacks, Windwalker, has had its bonus physical power scaling increased by 5%. From 70, now it's 75%. So you're doing a little bit more damage on your basic attacks as you gain bonus physical power throughout the game. His passive ability, Executioner's Path, now no longer grants him bonus physical power. Instead, when you hit these thresholds, upon achieving 1, 3, and 5 unique hero takedowns, okay? So 1, 3, and 5, you're going to get 3 plus 40% bonus physical penetration at 1 unique takedown, 8 plus 40% bonus physical penetration at 3, and 14 plus 40% bonus physical penetration at 5 unique hero takedowns. So it's really going to become important for you to get unique hero takedowns because your damage is significantly increasing from your passive whenever you get those unique hero takedowns. His primary ability, Safeguard, has seen its movement speed decreased from 3 scaling to 9% to 2 scaling to 6%. And the cost is increasing from 50 to 80. We are not touching the spell shield. Spell shield's staying. We love the spell shield. His secondary ability, Hamstring, has had its damage decreased from 40 scaling to 120 to 36 scaling to 88. His bonus physical power scaling, though, is increasing by 10%. Now, if you're using this ability in an isolated fight, the isolation damage is changing from 15 to 55 to 27 to 66, and the bonus physical power scaling on that isolation damage is also going up 10%. So it's even more rewarding when you use this ability in an isolated fight. Lastly, the cost is decreasing. Used to be 50 mana at all ranks. Now it is 50 scaling down to 30 at max rank. His alternate ability, Reaping Dash, has had its damage decreased from 60 scaling to 120. Now it is 50 scaling to 110. So 10 less damage each rank. Takedowns now only refresh 75% of the current cooldown instead of fully resetting it. So you don't get to automatically use it again, but you do refund 75% of the current cooldown. In addition, the animation cancel lockout is slightly increased, so you're going to have to adjust with that. And then the cost of the ability has decreased. Used to be 60 scaling to 80, now it's a flat 60 at all ranks. So not any direct changes to the damage of the ability, but a functional change in the ability reset on takedowns. His ultimate ability, Earth Shatter, has had its damage decreased. Used to be 250, 350, and 450 at each rank, respectively. Now it is 225, 300, 375. Its bonus physical power scaling is decreasing from 70 to 40%. His execute damage is decreasing from 300, 480 to 660 to 250, 475, and 600. His execute bonus physical power is also decreasing from 70 to 40%. And your execute physical penetration scaling is decreasing from 520 to 480%. In addition to that, the recast timer is increasing from 12 to 20 seconds. So they're giving you a little bit more time to string those kills together. And the cooldown is decreasing by 20 seconds at rank 1, 10 seconds at rank 2, and it's the same cooldown at rank 3. So all in all, he's received pretty sweeping decrease to the damage of his ultimate and the execute damage of his ultimate, but you have longer to chain the uses together, and your cooldown is reducing at rank 1 and rank 2. Those are all the changes coming to Feng Mao. Let me know what you think about those changes in the comments, and we are going to move on to Kallari, the illusory absolute ninja lady. Can I just say, I can never keep up with where she's at. She's always jumping all around me, and by the time I look up to find her, she's dashing back down to kill me. So certainly I'm just bad. But anyway, let's talk about her stats. But to her base stats, she's got a decrease of her base HP. Her physical armor is increasing. Her physical armor growth, though, is decreasing. Her base mana is decreasing. Her physical power is decreasing, and her attack speed is decreasing. Again, all these changes are minor adjustments, but I still just want to mention them so that you know. Her passive, Death Mark, can now apply to multiple targets at a time, okay? And as a quality of life change, it's going to display per target cooldowns on the enemy's health bar using the stat counter for that player locally. So they will know what that cooldown is. Your basic attack, Plate Steel Swords, The bonus physical power scaling is increasing from 75 to 90%. So just some straight up more damage on her basic attacks. Primary ability, Shadow Walk, has had its cost decrease from 60 to 40, but its cooldown is increasing at all ranks. It used to be 10 scaling to 6. It is now 12, but its cooldown is increasing early. So it used to be 10 scaling to 6 seconds. Now it's 12 scaling to 6 seconds. Your secondary ability, Shadow Dance, your death mark damage multiplier is increasing from 1.75x to 2.25x. The bonus physical power scaling is going to decrease to account for this from 65 down to 55%. It's going to cost you, it used to be 50 scaling to 70. Now they've flipped that. It's 70 scaling to 50. So it costs you more earlier than it does later. And the cooldown is decreasing across all ranks. Your alternate ability, Crippling Dagger, damage is increasing from 70 scaling to 142 to 70 scaling to 190. And to account for that flat increase to damage late game, the bonus physical power scaling is decreasing by 10%. The cost is increasing by measly 5, but the cooldown is decreasing from 10.5 scaling to 8.5 to 8 scaling to 6. So way more frequent uses of Crippling Dagger. Only one change to your ultimate guillotine, which is your total physical power scaling is increasing from 55, 65, 75 to 70, 85, 100%. So really, your physical power scaling on your ultimate at rank 1 is almost what it used to be at rank 3. So across the board, she's seeing some pretty positive changes to her damage. So let me know what all you Kallari mains think about her. I'm sure you're absolutely thrilled. I can't wait to get gutted by her even faster than I have been in the past. Can't wait. Moving on to Grux, the absolute Unga Bunga Lord. We have had a change to his augment. Okay, so Warlord's Might, this is one that would increase its duration when you'd hit people. It has been removed and it has been integrated into Warlord's Challenge by default. So we automatically have that now. They've gotten rid of it as an augment and they have replaced it with Red Mist instead, which is going to give attack speed to your passive. So you're going to gain 10% total attack speed for each enemy hero or camp leader, so when you're farming, within 1,800 units that has a stack of Bloodlust applied to them. So when you get them with your passive and you have a stack on them that's ticking, you're gaining 10% attack speed for each hero or camp leader. So pretty significant for him with that augment there. Base stat changes coming to Grux. He's had his base HP and his HP growth decreased. His base mana decreasing, but mana growth increasing. Your physical power, base and growth are increasing, and your attack speed and attack speed growth are decreasing. Taking a look at his passive, Bloodlust, it has a quality of life adjustment for enemies, so it will display the number of bleed stacks that you have applied to an enemy on their health bar locally. So that's a cool feature so the enemies can know how screwed they are, basically. Your bleed damage has been changed from 8 scaling to 42 plus 3 per level to 18 to 28 plus 1 per level. His basic attack, Chieftain's War Clubs, has had its bonus physical power scaling increased by 5%. So just some straight up better damage there as you move on into the late game. His primary ability, Smash and Grab, the animation cancel time has been decreased and the damage is decreasing early but is increasing later. And the scaling on the ability is increasing by 20% from 80 to 100. So they're really kind of shifting some of the damage from this ability to later in the game. Cooldown on the ability is increasing. Used to be 22 to scaling to 14. Now it is 24 scaling to 18. And the cost is decreasing. It was a flat 70 mana across all ranks. It is now 60 scaling to 40. Now, arguably the biggest change to Grux is that his secondary ability, Crush, has been removed. This was the lunge and uppercut. It is gone. And we have now reverted back to Paragon Grux and we have Stampede back. Okay, so what this is after a brief delay, Grux will charge forward, deal a good amount of damage to every enemy that he passes through, and dragging the enemies with him to the end of the dash and applying a 40% slow for 1.2 seconds. So CC, in terms of you literally physically move them and also apply a slow to them, and you're going to deal damage to them. So we love this ability. It's a cool return to his kit. Paragon players everywhere are going to feel at home with this adjustment. His alternate ability, Double Pain, has had its total physical power scaling adjusted. It was 110 to 170%. It is now 120 to 160%. So slightly increased early, but slightly down late. Your healing now applies for each hero and camp leader hit instead of only once on this ability. So you're going to be healing a lot more than you used to, which is a scary thing to think about. Cost of the ability is changing from a flat 40 to 25, scaling to 45. So down at almost all ranks except for that last rank. And the cooldown is decreasing across all ranks as well. His ultimate ability, Warlord's Challenge, as I mentioned earlier, it's got that previous augment rolled into it. So now you will extend the duration of your ultimate by half a second on hit when damaging enemies with max passive stacks with either your basic attacks or double pain. Okay, so you can really, if you work it right, you can really extend your ultimate a good while. Those are all the changes coming to Grux. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And we're moving on to somebody who received some pretty significant changes and I think is honestly a really cool. We're taking a look at Khaimera. So he's had one change to an augment. He used to have an augment called Minion Regeneration. It has now been renamed to Lane Lurker. So your health regen based on your current rage, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is now reduced by 25%, 15%, 5%, 0% at levels 1, 6, 11, and 16. Alrighty, so taking a look at his base stat changes, the biggest one we have to talk about out the gate is that he is now a mana-less hero. Just like Akeron, he now revolves around a system called Rage, where he's going to be generating rage and then using that rage to imbue his abilities in various ways. Additionally, his health, his base HP is decreasing just slightly. His physical armor is increasing. His physical armor growth, though, is decreasing. His physical power, base, and growth are increasing, and your attack speed is decreasing just slightly. His passive ability has been renamed. It used to be Spirit Regeneration. It is now Ancestral Fury. This ability is going to grant Khaimera Rage when you are damaging enemy heroes or jungle monsters. At 50 Rage, he's going to gain 8% movement speed. At 100 Rage, which is max Rage, he's going to gain 5% increased size. Your rage will decay at a rate of 25 per second after you've been out of any combat for 3 seconds. Okay, so over the course of 4 seconds, you will drop to 0 rage. So if you've been out of combat for 7 seconds, your rage is going to be fully depleted because it takes 3 seconds to start decaying, 4 seconds to decrease completely. And then the cooldown, your Khaimera's cooldowns progress 0.5% faster per rage. So at 100 rage, you have 50% cooldown progression. His primary ability, Unleash, all of these abilities, I'm not going to say it for each one, all of his abilities no longer have a cost to cast them. These are all just cooldown dependent abilities. That being said, the cooldown is the only adjustment to his primary ability. It is increasing from 7 scaling to 5 to 8 scaling to 6. And I just want to say as a disclaimer for him, you're going to see a cooldown increase on pretty much all of his abilities because of what we just mentioned. When you are at 100 rage, which you're pretty much always going to be at rage if you're always attacking, your cooldown progression is 50% faster when you're at 100 rage. So they're going to increase your base cooldowns because for the most part, you're going to be accelerating that process anyway when your rage is full. His secondary ability, Invigorate, has had its health regeneration scaling decreased from 250 down to 175%. But again, we are generating health back at a scaling amount based on your level for every 1 rage that you have. So the more rage you have, the more health regeneration that you're going to have. So you really don't need to depend on this ability. You're just going to be passively regenerating health based on your rage. The cooldown is increasing from 20 scaling to 12. It's now 22 scaling to 16. Your alternate ability, Ambush, it's going to grant you 20 rage on cast. Its damage is changing from 80 scaling to 180 to 70 scaling to 190. And the bonus physical power scaling is decreasing by 5%. So more damage built into the base of the ability later, but the overall scaling is decreasing. Your bonus physical power scaling is decreasing by 5%. The slow is changing from a flat 40% to 25 scaling to 45%. And the duration of that slow is increasing by 0.35 seconds. So you have a stronger slow late game and a longer slow at all ranks. The cooldown is increasing at all ranks as well. Lastly for him, his ultimate, Cole, has 20 rage per hero or monster hit, and your damage is decreasing from 220, 415, 610 to 200, 400, 600. So slightly decreasing. All these changes I think are pretty cool to him. Before people get concerned about our boy, I feel like they're always we always get concerned they're going to gut Khaimera, but I just want to say that I don't think that's really what's going on. I think when we hear things like, oh, attack speed's decreasing, damage is decreasing, health regeneration is decreasing, we have to recognize that they are building all of that into the base of the way that his passive works. Really, that yes, it's reducing on the ability casts, but it's happening all of the time when you're auto attacking and you're building up your rage meter. Okay, so it's still going to be happening. We're just going to have to see how it shakes out, and of course they'll make adjustments if it didn't land where they wanted it to. But this is a pretty cool change to him. No more mana to cast abilities. It's all cooldown dependent. And this rage system instead of mana, I think is a pretty cool thing. So you guys let me know what you think about Khaimera in the comments below. And we are going to move on to Rampage. So Rampage has had a couple of augment changes. The first of which is his Rock and Awe augment. It no longer grants Rampage the ability to rip out Boulder Toss midair, because this has been added to the ability by default. So we don't need the augment to do that. It's automatically in the ability now. The damage based on distance thrown is increasing. It used to cap out at 70%. Now it goes all the way to 100%. The next one is the rumbling. The total physical power scaling is decreasing. It was 40 to 52%. Now it's 35 to 47%. So a little bit of a decrease on the damage you receive from that augment. Additionally, a quality of life adjustment. The camera shake for enemies is reducing by 50%. All right, general changes to Rampage. His base HP and his HP growth are decreasing, but his health regeneration growth is increasing. Your base mana is decreasing, but your mana regen growth is increasing. His attack speed is decreasing and his physical power is increasing. Again, all these changes are minor. Your primary ability, Boulder Throw, as we mentioned, they gave what used to be an augment now to the base ability, so you can rip Boulder out midair by default. The damage is decreasing just slightly, but the bonus physical power is also decreasing by 20%. A couple of quality of life adjustments. He now has a mild amount of camera shake when thrown in behemoth form. Your secondary ability, Rumble, another quality of life adjustment, now always deals its damage in front of Rampage in the same location rather than being centered on his fists. So just make it a smoother experience using that ability. Damage is decreasing from 50 scaling to 170 to 50 scaling to 150. So same damage early, but lowered a little bit late. And the bonus physical power scaling is decreasing from 65 to 50%. The slow, though, used to be a flat 30%. Now it is 30% plus a half a percentage per bonus health. Bonus health to physical power conversion is also increasing from what used to be 1.25% scaling to 2.25%. Now it is 2% scaling to 4%. So you're dealing more damage with this ability based on your bonus health, and you're doing a stronger slow based on your bonus health. The cooldown is decreasing at all ranks. The enraged cooldown is going from used to be 4.8 to 6 or 4.8 to 3.6. Now it's 5.2 to 2.6. So up a little bit earlier, but lower late. And the enraged rumble cooldown reduction is decreasing from 40 to 35%. So lots of changes coming to this ability. It's to recap them. You've got lowered damage, base damage and scaling, but a better slow that increases based on bonus health, and more damage in the ability based on bonus health. So you have a little bit less base built-in scaling, but the more bonus health you build, the more damage you're going to gain back onto this ability. A couple of cool changes there. We'll see how it shakes out. His alternate ability, Pounce, now displaces enemies up and slightly backwards when dealing damage. The hitbox is increasing just slightly, and the enraged hitbox is increasing a good bit. The downward speed when canceling out of the leap is increased from 30%. The last ability we're going to talk about is his ultimate behemoth. The max health total healing is increasing. It used to be 18, 27, 36%. Now it is 20, 30, 40. So more at all ranks. The healing is increased by 10% for every nearby enemy hero within 1,000 units. And it now grants Rampage 5% movement speed while in Behemoth. One other thing we want to mention, though, is that the cooldown now commits on the end rather than at the beginning of the ability. So what this means is that it's going to feel like a longer cooldown because it doesn't start until the ability is over. And then there's a quality of life adjustment where the camera mode has been adjusted to be more zoomed out while he is in Behemoth form. And those are all of the changes coming to Rampage. Let me know what you think about those in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation about that and see what my Rampage players think. Moving on to the Monkey King himself, Wukong. He has no changes to his augments, so we'll jump right into his stat changes. He's had a base HP and HP growth decrease, a mana growth decrease, attack speed decrease, but his physical power is increasing. His basic attack time is increasing. His cleave is decreasing by 5%. His basic attack, Ruyi Jingu Bang, say that 3 times fast, has had its bonus physical power scaling increased by 5%. So straight up win there. So taking a look at the body stance first, he's had 2 changes to the stance. One to pole vault. It has seen its cost increased by 10. The second is to high impact, which is his secondary ability when in body stance. It's had its cost decreased by 10. So kind of swapped that there. And then in his spirit stance, here alternate ability wind surge has had its bonus physical power scaling decreased by 10%, and the cost decreased. It used to be 55 scaling to 80. It's now a flat 50 at all ranks. Really no significant changes to any of the damage anywhere, except for his basic attacks, which are getting a little bit of a damage increase. His abilities aren't seeing any changes. His damage, just kind of like functional usage there with the cooldowns being kind of swapped around. So let's take a look at Yin. She has no changes to her augments as well. So we'll jump right into her base stats and then talk about her ability changes. So she's had her base HP and her HP growth decreased. She's having her base mana and her mana growth decreased. She's having her physical power increased, but the physical power growth decreased. And she's having a slight decrease to her attack speed as well. Her basic attacks, Silk Song, are seeing an increase in the bonus physical power scaling by 10%. Taking a look at her passive, Ring Storm, the stacks from your passive are now visualized and 5 pips on her health bar. So you don't have to count this and keep it in your head. You can see it played out and filling on your health bar. Maximum stacks are decreasing from 8 to 5. The attack speed per stack has been changed from bonus to total. Okay. And the attack speed per stack is increasing. It was 4, 5, 6, 7. Now it is 5, 6, 7, 8%. Okay. So it's changed from bonus attack speed to total attack speed, and the increase itself has increased. So when you're at maximum stacks, 5 stacks, you're going to have 40% increase to your total attack speed. They also had a bug fix to this ability, which was an issue where the description stated Lash Kick gave 0 stacks after level 5. They have fixed that bug now. Speaking of Lash Kick, taking a look at the changes to that ability, they have had a quality of life adjustment, which is that you now have air control after vaulting off of terrain or targets. Instead of being locked into your chosen direction, you can now move around while in the air. There's also a bug fix to this ability where vaulting off of an enemy now correctly pushes them back in the opposite direction. Crazy to think that it wasn't doing that all this time, but I guess they have confidently fixed that bug now. Your Rising Storm stacks gained upon damaging an enemy have decreased from 4 to 2. Taking a look at the damage changes to the ability, the overall damage, base damage of the ability has decreased. It was 100 scaling to 260. That a significant change to 30 scaling to 130. But this is because they've adjusted where the damage comes from in the scaling of this ability. It used to be 140% of your bonus physical power, and now it is 100% of your total physical power. So you will see how this plays out, but they've had to adjust the base damage of the ability to account for the change in where that scaling comes from. The slow duration is increasing from 0.25 to 0.6, so more than double the amount of slow duration. And the cost is decreasing to a flat 50 at all ranks. The cooldown is increasing. It used to be 17 scaling down to 9, now 21 scaling down to 9. So a higher cooldown early, but the same later. Your secondary ability, Windburn, has had passive max health damage increased. It used to be 3 scaling to 6%, now it is 3 scaling to 7%. The cooldown is going to begin on ability cast, so you should have technically more usages because instead of that cooldown starting when the cleave ended, now it's going to start as soon as you press the button. The cleave is decreasing from 100% to a 30 scaling to 70%. So it's going to be a pretty noticeable difference, especially in the early game, because you're actually losing 70% of that cleave at rank 1. Having a reduced cooldown across all ranks as well. And the cost is reducing across all ranks also. Last change to Yin is to her alternate ability Backlash, which is the damage is decreasing. Really, this is the same type of change as it was to Lash Kick. The base damage of the ability is changed because the scaling is coming from the total physical power instead of the bonus physical power. Only other change to this ability is that the cost is going to be a scaling 60 down to 20 as opposed to 50 at all ranks. And that's all the changes to her. They didn't touch her ultimate. So let me know what you guys think about these changes and the shifting of where this bonus damage is coming from and the changing of max stacks and her passive. Let me know what you guys think about those changes in the comments below. And we're going to move on to Yurei. Taking a look at her base stat changes, her base HP and her HP growth and her health regen and her health regen growth are all decreasing. Her default camera has been adjusted to be offset to be more like a ranged hero than a melee hero. Those are all the changes to her base stats. Her primary ability, Anima Burst, has had its bonus physical power damage scaling decrease from 100 to 80%. Its healing is increasing late game, and its healing bonus physical power scaling is increasing by 20%. The low health additional healing is also increasing by 10% at max rank. The mana cost is increasing. Used to be 60 scaling to 80, now it's just going to be 80 at all ranks. Anima Burst has also received a pretty significant suite of adjustments to its quality of life. You guys can check the patch notes out to see what are all of those changes, but the way I'm interpreting it is that it's mostly going to be a much smoother ability to use. They're adjusting animation rates, they're adjusting blocking windows, activation rates, they're adjusting buffering windows. So really it's just very, very minute changes to the timing of the ability that should see it be a smoother activation process. The secondary ability, Severance, has had its damage increased from 60 scaling to 160 to 60 scaling to 200, and its bonus physical power scaling has been increased by 20%. Same as the primary ability, there's been some quality of life adjustments to this ability as well. Her alternate ability, Whispering Echoes, cooldown has been adjusted down early and up later. It used to be 11 scaling to 7, now it's 10 scaling to 8. And the last change to her is to her ultimate. The self slow has been increased from 30 to 35%. And those are all of the changes to the jungle heroes that Predecessor has listed as junglers on their website. I know that there are some heroes that you all might have been expecting in this video, but I can promise you that the ones you were thinking are going to be in the offlane video. And if you're upset about that, blame Predecessor. Thank you for supporting me. Thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. It really benefits me more than you know. I really appreciate it. Please let me know in the comments below what role you'd like to see next, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.